The river's claim. The town of Willow Creek was known for two things: its sprawling oak forests and the mysterious river that snaked through its heart. Locals called it the Whispering River, a name given with a touch of fear and respect. It was a beautiful, winding waterway, its waters a deep, alluring green. But beneath that serene surface lay something sinister, a darkness so deep it seemed to pull at the very soul. Old-timers spoke of the river in hushed tones. Tales of disappearances, strange occurrences, and eerie whispers carried through generations. Some said the river claimed a life every year, a chilling sacrifice to an unseen force. Others swore they had seen strange lights dancing on its surface at night, or heard mournful cries echoing through the mist. Despite these chilling stories, the allure of the river was undeniable. It was a magnet for the young and adventurous, a place to escape the mundane and seek thrills. Among these thrill-seekers were four friends: Alex, Ben, Chris, and Danielle. They were the kind of kids who lived for adrenaline, always searching for the next big adventure. And the Whispering River, with its shroud of mystery, seemed like the perfect challenge. It was a hot summer day when they decided to explore the river's upper reaches. Armed with kayaks, camping gear, and a reckless disregard for danger, they set off. The journey began innocently enough. The river was calm, the sun was warm, and the world seemed full of promise. But as they ventured deeper into the wilderness, the atmosphere began to shift. The trees grew taller, the forest denser, and the river seemed to darken. An eerie silence settled over the place, broken only by the soft gurgle of the water. As the day wore on, a strange unease crept into their hearts. It was as if the river was watching them, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Night fell, casting the forest into a world of shadows. The friends set up camp on a small, secluded island. A campfire crackled, offering a feeble defiance against the encroaching darkness. As they sat around the fire, sharing stories and laughter, the wind picked up, carrying with it the distant sound of rushing water. A cold dread settled over the group. They looked at each other, their eyes wide with fear. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and the woods seemed to be closing in. Then they heard it, a low, guttural growl, like some monstrous creature was stirring from its slumber. The hair on the back of their necks stood on end. Fear gripped them like ice, and they huddled closer to the fire. Suddenly, a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness. It was tall and gaunt, with glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce the night. The creature let out a blood-curdling scream that echoed through the forest, sending shivers down their spines. Panic ensued. The friends scrambled to their feet, their hearts pounding in their chests. They grabbed what they could and ran, the creature's terrifying howls chasing them through the night. The forest seemed to come alive with shadows, and the ground beneath their feet trembled. They ran blindly, their senses overwhelmed by fear. The river loomed ahead, a dark and menacing presence. Desperate, they jumped in, hoping to escape the creature's clutches. But the water was colder than ice, and the current was stronger than they had anticipated. They were swept away, their cries lost in the rushing water. Days later, their bodies washed ashore, bearing the marks of a terrible struggle. The town was in mourning, but there was also a sense of relief. The river had claimed its victims once again, and perhaps now it would be satisfied. But the Whispering River remained, its waters as dark and mysterious as ever. And some say that on moonless nights, you can still hear the mournful cries of those who dared to challenge its power. The disappearance of Alex, Ben, Chris, and Danielle sent shockwaves through Willow Creek. People were afraid. The Whispering River, once a place of recreation, became a symbol of terror. Yet, there were those who were drawn to the river, not by fear, but by a strange fascination. One such person was Sarah, a young and curious journalist. Intrigued by the mystery surrounding the river, she decided to investigate. Armed with a camera, a notebook, and an unwavering determination, she embarked on her journey. Her first stop was the Old Town Library. Hours were spent poring over dusty books and yellowed newspapers. She discovered a pattern, a chilling repetition. Disappearances linked to the river, dating back over a century. Each case bore eerie similarities: a group of friends, a summer adventure, and a tragic end. As Sarah delved deeper, she stumbled upon old folklore. The river, according to legend, was not just a waterway but a living entity, a powerful spirit that demanded sacrifices. It was said that the river chose its victims, luring them in with its beauty before claiming their lives. Undeterred by the chilling tales, Sarah decided to explore the river herself. She rented a small cabin on the riverbank, a place where she could observe the river without being too close. Days turned into nights as she watched the water, hoping to catch a glimpse of something unusual. One moonless night, a strange occurrence caught her attention. A shimmering light emerged from the river, dancing and swirling on the surface. It was as if the water was alive, pulsating with an otherworldly energy. Fear gripped her, but curiosity won. She picked up her camera and started to film. As she focused on the light, something moved in the water. A dark shape, elongated and sinister, broke the surface. It was a creature unlike anything she had ever seen. Its skin was smooth and wet, and its eyes glowed with an eerie blue light. It let out a guttural sound that sent shivers down her spine. Terror consumed Sarah. She dropped her camera and ran, her heart pounding in her chest. The creature pursued her, its movements swift and silent. She could hear its heavy breathing closer and closer. With a final burst of adrenaline, she reached her cabin and slammed the door shut. Panting and trembling, she leaned against the door, her body shaking uncontrollably. She listened to the silence, her heart pounding in her ears. Outside, the creature seemed to circle the cabin, its low growls echoing in the night. Sarah was trapped, a prisoner in her own home, with a monster lurking just beyond the walls. As dawn approached, the creature's growls faded. The first rays of sunlight pierced the darkness, casting long shadows on the ground. Exhausted and terrified, Sarah collapsed on the floor, her mind racing. She knew she had seen something extraordinary, something that defied explanation. The Whispering River was no ordinary river. It was a portal to a dark and terrifying world, a place where nightmares became reality. Sarah's encounter made headlines. People were both fascinated and terrified by her story. Some dismissed it as a figment of her imagination, while others believed every word. But one thing was certain: the mystery of the Whispering River deepened, and with it, the fear that gripped the town. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah's fear slowly began to fade. In its place grew a strange determination. She was drawn back to the river, compelled to uncover its secrets. It was a dangerous obsession, but she couldn't resist. She returned to her cabin, this time with a different mindset. She was no longer a frightened journalist, but a determined investigator. She had to face her fear, to confront the creature that haunted her dreams. Armed with a new camera and a stronger resolve, she ventured out at night. The river was calm, its surface reflecting the moonlight like a mirror. But Sarah knew the danger lurked beneath. As she stood on the riverbank, she called out to the creature. "I'm not afraid," she said, her voice steady. "Show yourself." Silence. Then, from the depths, a low growl echoed through the night. The water began to churn, and the creature emerged. It was larger than she remembered, its form more defined. Its eyes glowed with an intensity that seemed to burn through the darkness. Fear gripped her again, but she held her ground. She raised her camera and started to film. The creature advanced, its movements slow and deliberate. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, but she refused to back down. As the creature drew closer, something unexpected happened. The camera, as if possessed by an unseen force, began to malfunction. The screen flickered, and strange symbols appeared. The creature seemed to react, its movements becoming erratic. Then, with a blinding flash of light, the creature disappeared, leaving behind only ripples on the water. Sarah was left standing alone, the camera in her hands still emitting an eerie glow.